Man who man would be must rule the empire of himself. In it must be supreme, establishing his throne on vanquished will, quelling the anarchy of hopes and fears, being himself alone. Shelley. Have you missed your aim? Well, the mark is still shining. Did you faint in the race? Well, take breath for the next. Ella Wheeler Wilcox. To suggest that any degree of blessedness may be extracted from difficulties and perplexities will doubtless appear absurd to many, but truth is ever paradoxical, and the curses of the foolish are the blessings of the wise. Difficulties arise in ignorance and weakness, and they call for the attainment of knowledge and the acquisition of strength. As understanding is acquired by right living, difficulties become fewer, and perplexities gradually fade away, like the perishable mists which they are. Your difficulty is not contained primarily in the situation which gave rise to it, but in the mental state with which you regard that situation and which you bring to bear upon it. That which is difficult to a child presents no difficulty to the matured mind of the man, and that which to the mind of an unintelligent man is surrounded with perplexity would afford no ground for perplexity to an intelligent man. To the untutored and undeveloped mind of the child, how great, and apparently insurmountable, appear the difficulties which are involved in the learning of some simple lesson. How many anxious and laborious hours and days, or even months, its solution costs, and frequently how many tears are shed in hopeless contemplation of the unmastered and apparently insurmountable wall of difficulty. Yet the difficulty is in the ignorance of the child only, and its conquest and solution is absolutely necessary for the development of intelligence and for the ultimate welfare, happiness, and usefulness of the child. Even so it is with difficulties of life with which older children are confronted, and which it is imperative for their own growth and development that they should solve and surmount, and each difficulty solved means so much more experience gained, so much more insight and wisdom acquired. It means a valuable lesson learned, with the added gladness and freedom of a task successfully accomplished. What is the real nature of a difficulty? Is it not a situation which is not fully grasped and understood in all its bearings? As such, it calls for the development and exercise of a deeper insight and broader intelligence than has hitherto been exercised. It is an urgent necessity calling forth unused energy and demanding the expression and employment of latent power in hidden resources. It is therefore a good angel, albeit disguised, a friend, a teacher, and when calmly listened to and rightly understood, leads to larger blessedness and higher wisdom. Without difficulties there could be no progress, no unfoldment, no evolution. Universal stagnation would prevail, and humanity would perish of ennui. Let a man rejoice when he is confronted with obstacles, for it means that he has reached the end of some particular line of indifference or folly, and is now called upon to summon up all his energy and intelligence in order to extricate himself, and to find a better way, that the powers within him are crying out for greater freedom, for enlarged exercise and scope. No situation can be difficult of itself. It is the lack of insight into its intricacies and the want of wisdom in dealing with it which give rise to the difficulty. Immeasurable, therefore, is the gain of a difficulty transcended. Difficulties do not spring into existence arbitrarily and accidentally. They have their causes, and they are called forth by the law of evolution itself, by the growing necessities of the man's being. Herein resides their blessedness. There are ways of conduct which end inevitably in complications and perplexities, and there are ways of conduct which lead, just as inevitably, out of troublesome complexities. Howsoever tightly a man may have bound himself round, he can always unbind himself. Into whatsoever morasses of trouble and trackless wastes of perplexity he may have ignorantly wandered, he can always find his way out again. He can always recover the lost highway of uninvolved simplicity, which leads, straight and clear, to the sunny city of wise and blessed action. But he will never do this by sitting down and weeping in despair, nor by complaining and worrying and aimlessly wishing he were differently situated. His dilemma calls for alertness, logical thought, and calm calculation. His position requires that he shall strongly command himself, that he shall think and search, and rouse himself to strenuous and unremitting exertion in order to regain himself.